Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today we have my January in and out. January was a great month for unhauling. If you didn't see my unhaul videos where I went through all of my shelves and unhauled quite a few books, I will make sure that they are linked up above. And I didn't haul too many either. So I am excited to share with you what I am getting off of my shelves and also what I am adding to my shelves from the month of January. So let's get started. I first do want to say the things that I am unhauling, most of them will likely be on my Pango shop. So if you are interested in checking out my Pango shop and purchasing any of these titles, you can find that link down below in the description box. Otherwise, the books are likely going to Little Free Libraries, or I'm donating them to my Friends of the Library book sale. This first stack of 18 or so books are books that I unhauled from my unread shelves, so I will link that video up above, and I'm just going to quickly name them because I talked about why I unhauled them in that video. So the first is Mrs. Everything by Jennifer Weiner, then we have The Diplomat's Wife by Pam Jenoff, and we have No One Ever Asked by Katie Ganshert. We also have The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, Purity by Jonathan Franzen, Paradise by Toni Morrison, The Murdered Family by Vernon Keel, Bird in Hand by Christina Baker Klein, Beautiful Ruins by Jess Walter, The Sun by Joe Nesbo, Princess Elizabeth's Spy by Susan Elia McNeil, Shoot the Moon by Billy Letts, Drunk on Love by Jasmine Guillory, A Bell for Adano by John Hersey, Slumdog Millionaire by Vikas Swaroop, The Sisters Brothers by Patrick DeWitt, and Marley and Me by John Grogan. So those were all books that I hadn't read and just didn't have any interest in reading anytime soon or ever. So glad to get all of those off of my TBR. These next books are ones that I have read, but just decided I did not need to keep them on my shelves. So we've got 5 Dialogues by Plato. I got this for school, didn't need it. Blankets by Craig Thompson, a graphic novel. We've got a John Green book, Paper Towns. We have The Hunger Games Companion, the unauthorized guide to the series by Lois H. Gresh. I love the series, I don't need the guide. Mr. Churchill's Secretary by Susan Elia McNeil. You saw I got rid of the second in the series. This is the first. We have Titanic, The Long Night by Diane Ho. Angel Falls by Kristen Hanna. If You Believe by Kristen Hanna, Paris for One and Other Stories by Jojo Moyes, Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng, Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders, First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston, Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood, Between Sisters by Kristen Hanna, On Mystic Lake by Kristen Hanna, Summer Island by Kristen Hanna, Bel Canto by Ann Patchett, Saint Maisie by Jamie Attenberg, True Colors by Kristen Hanna, The Other Einstein by Marie Benedict, The Space Between Us by Thridi Umrigar, and A Dog's Purpose by W. Bruce Cameron. Now we have a mess over here, but that's like 40 some books that I'm unhauling, which feels great. We have one other quick stack to talk about, and these are books that I read in January that I have decided to not keep on my shelves. I don't know if my January wrap-up is coming out before or after this video, so you might want to reference that video for my thoughts and reviews on these books and why I decided to get rid of them. But the first is actually one I didn't finish. This is Old Babes in the Wood by Margaret Atwood. It is short stories by this author. I love The Handmaid's Tale and The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, but I was not enjoying these. I read probably 4 or 5 of the short stories and didn't want to continue, so I will be passing this off to someone who would like it. I'm also going to get rid of The Art of Simple Living by Shunmyo Masuno. He is a Zen Buddhist monk, and he gave some great ideas as to how to live a more simple life, but I took notes and have that information in my reading journal, so I don't need the book any longer. We have Old Oak Tree Inspiration by Carol A. Holmgren. This is a book of poetry by a semi-local author, and I read it, but not going to return to it. We've got What Lies in the Woods. Books just fell. We have What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall, a really good thriller, but I don't often return to thrillers to reread them, and so I don't need this one on my shelves to return to. And lastly, we have The Gown by Jennifer Robson. This is a really good historical fiction. I gave it 4 stars, but I ultimately want others to read it more than keeping it on my shelves, so I'm going to pass this off to my mom. I think she would enjoy it. It is a book about the embroidery workers who made Princess Elizabeth's gown in 1947 when she got married. So yes, that is the last one. I believe that's 45 books total. We'll go through numbers after we do the haul. And I'm just going to show you the mess we have. Wow. Now it's time for the fun part. We get to talk about all of the books I'm adding to my shelves. Super excited to have these 8 books coming on to my shelves. Let's chat about them. So the first is Shen Lend. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. I should probably learn, but this is by Darcy Little Badger. It's the prequel to Alatsue. I haven't read Alatsue, but I have a feeling I would really enjoy it. It is a YA about a native girl, or at least Alatsue is, and I believe Shen Lend follows her grandmother. So just excited to have these 2 on my shelves once I finally get to Alatsue and now Shen Lend. But yeah, I got this one actually from a publisher. They sent a couple other YAs to me, so let's chat through those. We also have The Boy from Clearwater, Book 1 and Book 2 by Yu Pei Yoon and Zhu Jian Jin. The translation is by Lin King. I don't know hardly anything about these ones, but it is a friend of mine who works in publishing. She said that these are some of her favorite YAs. So let's just quickly see. Taiwan, 1930s, Tsai Ku-lin, an ordinary boy, was born in Qingshui. He grew up happily sneaking into the sugarcane fields, reciting nursery rhymes he couldn't understand, despite Japanese occupation looming over him. As war emerges, Tsai's memories shift to military parades, air raids, and watching others face conscription into the army. After the war comes a new era under the rule of the Chinese National Party, and the book-loving teenager tries hard to learn Mandarin and be a good son. He believes he is finally stepping towards a comfortable future, but little does he know, a dark cloud awaits him ahead. Then it looks like we jump ahead to the 1950s in Taiwan. In his second year at Taichung First Senior High School, Tsai had attended a book club hosted by his teacher. This comes back to haunt him when he is consequently arrested on a charge of taking part in an illegal assembly. After being tortured into a false confession, he is sentenced to 10 years in prison and eventually sent to Green Island for reformation. Lasting until his release in September 1960, Tsai, a victim of the White Terror era, spent 10 years of his youth in prison, experiencing unspeakable horrors as well as unimaginable kindnesses. But he is now ready to embrace freedom. Wow. This sounds impactful and powerful. There's a little bit of the artwork for you. But yeah, looking forward to trying out these young adult graphic novels. Next up, I got really, really lucky at my little Friends of the Library pop-up shop in our public library. I found Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Susanto. I have heard nothing but great things about this kind of cozy mystery about an older woman who owns a tea shop and finds a murdered person in her tea shop. Decides to solve the murder herself. So, looking forward to this one. So glad I picked it up for $5. Like everyone and their mother, in January, I hauled Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is the 3rd in the Empyrean series by this author, and it needs no introduction. We've got Fourth Wing, we've got Iron Flame, now we've got Onyx Storm. I needed to have it. It's beautiful. I'm so happy to own it, and it will go right next to my other books in this series. And lastly, we have the Book of the Month books I purchased in January. When I first looked at the list of Book of the Month options, I decided I didn't want any. I was going to pass on the month. And then I don't know, I got pulled into the hype. The one choice I actually made for January was The Favorites by Lane Fargo. The fact that this was marketed as kind of a Taylor Jenkins Reid historical fiction got me. That's what made me want to read it. So as far as I know, this is about two figure skaters who had a relationship during the Olympics, but then something happened, and we follow their lives after that event. And then I did 2 add-ons because I couldn't resist. I've been wanting to try the author Emily Austen, and so she had We Could Be Rats in one of the add-on selections. It says a moving story about two very different sisters and a love letter to childhood, growing up, and the power of imagination. Look at that pink. That is poppin'. I really enjoy books about sisterhood. I have 2 sisters, and love to hear about other stories involving sisters. And lastly, I got A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. I read The Unmaking of June Farrow by this author last year and really liked it. Like the magical realism aspects that she brings to her stories. This one says, in this captivating atmospheric novel, a woman investigates her twin brother's mysterious death while confronting the ghosts of her own haunted past. Sounds like a book for me. Alrighty, so now that we've talked about the 8 that I've hauled, we are going to go through some numbers. Here is a little chart showing the numbers of hauls and unhauls, or the ins and outs to my library. We hauled 8 books and we unhauled 45. That feels so good. Not all of these will add toward our TBR count going down because some of them were read, but I'm feeling so good about getting books off of my shelves that I either no longer have interest in or that I just don't need because I won't return to them or won't lend them to others to read. And now with the haul and unhaul out of the way, we get to look at how my TBR is faring. So I just want to pop up the start of 2025 numbers. We can see that on my physical TBR, I had 213 books. On my Kindle TBR, I had 50 books. And on my borrowed TBR, so books that I don't actually own, but I have on my shelves because I have held them hostage from other people, I had 24 books, making my total unread books at 287. So now let's check at the end of January. How did I do? It's great. It's awesome. Okay, so at the end of January 2025, my physical TBR is down to 195 books. We got under the 200 mark. Super proud of that. I read 2 books off of my Kindle and didn't add any, so we're down to 48 there. And borrowed books, I read a couple and just returned a couple. I also added a few. I'm not going to include those in a haul. But yeah, so we did actually get a net negative there. We're down to 21 books. So the total is at 264 books. My goal for the year, loose goal, is to get my TBR to 200. I thought that alliteration was nice, and we did a great job in January bringing that number down a total of 23 books from 287 to 264. Yay! I'm super proud of that. Hopefully February I will get the number down as well. The only thing is that I won't be doing a massive unhaul like I did in January because I just did that. So that won't be happening in February, but hopefully I will be reading a lot of books from my physical shelves. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if there are any books that you are sad to see go from my shelves. I'd love to have some bookish conversation with you down in the comments, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.